who is the 14-year-old, seeking to be found competent to consent and to proceed with hormone therapy. So a 14-year-old is filing a legal document. So let me just say this. In the United States, that person cannot even drive a car. That he's entitled to consent to medical treatment for gender dysphoria, permitted to bring this application under the Family Law Act, and paragraph C, attempting to persuade AB to abandon treatment for gender dysphoria, addressing AB by his birth name, referring to the child as a girl or female pronouns, whether to him or directly to third party, shall be considered family violence. Oh my gosh.
Notice how words are violence.
Child is permitted to apply to change his legal name, permitted to apply to change his gender. Okay, all right, what else we got? Conclusion. The protection order that AB is seeking essentially prevents the father from committing acts declared to be family violence.
Yeah, and I just told you what the violence was. Calling the girl a girl instead of what she wants to be called, which is a boy.
While the existing order identifies what is in AB's best interest and identifies certain conduct as family violence, it does not expressly require CD to refrain from doing acts that cause harm.
So if he just tells his daughter, I don't think this is a good idea, you're going to change your mind later on, just like all, teenagers and little children, they do, that's what they do, they change their minds constantly. That's violence. It's always, how many times can they say violence in this thing?
He wants the father to not talk about this stuff publicly. Father has and continues to publish and share AB's personal information. In this case, personal information is related to the gender identity. Furthermore, people and organizations that the father chooses to share his views with are those that AB views as fundamentally opposed to his right to choose his gender identity. I find that CD's sharing of the private information has exposed the child to degrading and violent public commentary. CD still continues to support media organizations that post the commentary. Father is using child to promote his own interests, making the child the unwilling poster child. I find that that this conduct puts the child at risk. Father's attempts to anonymize himself do not immunize him from any culpability. The child is harmed by the fact that his own father appears to be publicly rejecting his identity, perpetuating stories about him. Father has not been deterred by the child's request, even by this litigation. While I accept that the father does not agree with AB as to what is in AB's best interest, he has been irresponsible in the...
And it's violent commentary. You skipped over that part. There's another, so if he has any commentary about the daughter, saying, hey, I don't want you to change your gender, man. Wait till you're older and see if you really want that. That's considered violence.
In the manner of expressing his disagreement and the degree of publicity which he has fostered with respect to the disagreement with the child. I find that the child is highly likely to continue to be exposed to family violence.
Violence. And what did they say was violence was? Misgendering, disagreeing with gender theory. This is all violence. All violence.
Under this is not made. I find that the child is an at-risk family member who is highly vulnerable. I find that the father's expressions of rejection of the child's gender identity, both publicly and privately, constitutes family violence against the child.
Again, violence. Basically, the guy saying, I don't want my daughter to be sterilized. I don't want my 14-year-old to decide or not whether she wants to be sterilized, since she's just a 14-year-old kid. That's violence.
Finally, I find that CD's conduct, the father's conduct in this regard, is persistent and unlikely to cease in the absence of a clear order to restrain it. I find, therefore, child has established that he requires a protection order. I now must turn to the appropriate terms of an order. We've already gone through most of this. Can't abandon the treatment, can't use the birth name, can't use female pronouns, can't disclose any documentation to anyone else other than the following: counsel, court, legal counsel, medical professionals. Father cannot authorize anybody else to make copies of anything, and so he violated that, apparently. Corrected judgment, reasons for the judgment. All right, we're not going to go through all this again. Summary of orders. All right, a lot of the same stuff. So this is British Columbia father fighting medical transitioning of a 14-year-old child. fundraising, raised $32,000. The far left issued an arrest warrant on Thursday. I will be turning myself in on March 16th. I am fighting the far left based on civil disobedience defense. I'm now back in court for a 5-day criminal trial that will last at least 5 days from April 12th to the 16th. That trial could land me in jail for up to 5 years for speaking the truth about state-sponsored child abuse. FYI, I'm blocked from sharing any videos at this time that oppose the sterilization of children. Please watch the video. I was finally able to post, I am Canadian. Parent this documentary. Robert Hoogland. All right, so
amazing story. Isabel Vaughan Spruce is the leader of 40 Days for Life campaign in Birmingham, England. She's not a terrorist. She's the opposite. She's someone who prays a lot. Well, earlier this month, she was praying silently outside an abortion clinic in Birmingham. She wasn't yelling or carrying a sign or blocking the doorway or doing anything disruptive. She was just praying. Praying. Not to the government, to God. And that's not allowed anymore. So police approached her and arrested her and charged her with violating a public space protection order and committing, quote, antisocial behavior. And we're not making this up. It was caught on video. Here it is.
What are you here for today?
Physically, I'm just standing here.
Okay. Why here of all places? I know you don't live nearby.
But this is an abortion centre.
You praying?
I might be praying in my head, I'm not out loud.
So I'll ask you once more, will you voluntarily come with us now to the police station for me to ask you some questions about today and other days where there are allegations that you've broken public space protection?
If I've got a choice, then no.
Okay, well then you're under arrest on suspicion of failing to comply with the public spaces protection order.
Public Spaces Protection Order. Isabel Vaughan Spruce joins us tonight. Isabel, thank you so much for coming on. So
Thanks for having me.
order is designed, the law is designed to protect public spaces from praying?
Well, maybe if I could give a bit of a background to this. So for 20 years or around that, I've been going outside abortion centres and praying there and offering help to women. I know, well over 100 women who've accepted our help and continued their pregnancies. But in September this year, the local council in Birmingham brought in this censorship zone, this PSPO. Formerly these were used for dog fouling and drunken behaviour and things like that, but they're now popping up around the country surrounding abortion centres, and they ban behaviour like protesting, but it also names prayer and counselling as forms of protesting. And so 4 times I went and stood near the closed abortion centre and silently prayed there. And as you can see, the police came and asked me if I was protesting, which I wasn't. They asked me if I was praying, and I said I might be silently praying. I was arrested, I was searched, I was locked in a cell, I was then interviewed or interrogated, however you'd like to see it, during which I was quizzed about what I was praying about. I was then released on bail and then subsequently charged on 4 counts of protesting and engaging in an act intimidating of service users. So I now stand on trial on February the 2nd, supported by ADF UK, really for freedom of thought. And the concern is here in England that national buffer zones are now being discussed. So there's a possibility of every abortion centre in this country having a similar zone around it. And obviously the implications of that are really concerning.
If you're arresting people for praying, you are committing an act of evil. It's not a close call at all. There's sort of no debate about that. And I would think that even secular people would recognize that. Did anybody, any prominent person, step forward to defend you?
I have had a lot of people who say they're pro-choice or that they support abortion, but they've also got concerns about this, and that in itself is very encouraging to hear. That it's not necessarily about people who support abortion or don't support abortion. This is more to do with freedom of thought here. It's even gone further than freedom of prayer. I mean, we all talk about the cancel culture and the concerns we have about people being cancelled, speaking and public, maybe public speaking engagements, but to be arresting somebody for what they're thinking, it's just gone even a step further. It's actually quite surreal. That's the word I'd use to describe it. I mean, the amount of people who've used the word Orwellian to me to describe this, likening it to the 1984 novel. And it's really seemed like that to me from start to finish, and I wish it's not over yet, but it's just quite a surreal experience.
Well, it's evil. It's an act of evil. Arresting someone for praying is an act of evil, period. And it just breaks your heart to think of all the people in charge, your prime minister on down, who are standing by and allowing this to happen. And I'm just so glad that you did this. I hope you'll continue to do it. That's a human right. They can't take it away from you. And I appreciate your telling us about it on this show. Isabel Von Spruce, thank you.
Oh, this country is going to change so badly in the next 5 to 10 years, it will be unrecognisable.
Already, many parts of Britain are increasingly unrecognisable. Here's Nottingham town centre. But try and sing a Christian hymn in parts of Britain, and hey, the police will be on to you.
Anything you're allowed to do anywhere?
No, miss, you're not allowed to sing church songs outside of church grounds, by the way.
You're not allowed to sing church songs outside
of church songs or church grounds. That's fine, that's
You're not allowed.
Only Christians. Muslims can sing wherever they want, whenever they want.
She just said you're not allowed to sing church songs outside of church.
Our churches outside the church grounds, unless you have unless you are authorized by the church to do this kind of song.
I'm sure by now you've seen women on TikTok going viral stating they feel safer with a bear than a man.
Loved it.
And these women are sending a powerful and meticulously crafted political message that says to the world, we are bad at risk analysis, stop making us do it.
For years, the world has told women, we need more of you to trade crypto, gamble, enroll in actuarial science,
Enter STEM fields.
and other risk analysis adjacent fields. And these women revolted by saying, enough is enough. I can't even tell if a human man is more dangerous than a bear. Please stop trying to force me to run a hedge fund.
And I gotta confess, because I'm guilty as anyone. When I saw that men are 91% more likely than females to be invested in the stock market, or that 95% of professional poker players are men, I thought these women are just being lazy. We need a few more articles to force them into these fields.
Ignorant.
Completely ignorant. And I'm ashamed to say that when I first saw the man or bear trend, I took it at face value, and I said, I know that driving a car is dangerous, for example, but I would obviously be safer on the road than in a cage with a mountain lion, even if there are fewer deaths by lions due to frequency of encounters.
Perhaps we should stop comparing people, especially random men, to dangerous animals.